What is up, YouTube? Today I'm actually going to be rebuilding my drive motor on my Bobcat 743 Bravo. The 743 should be the same, it should be identical. I recently rebuilt my left drive motor, which is essentially identical to this DIY, just a mirrored version of this right drive pump. Loader Part Source, which I'm not affiliated with in any manner, probably has the best bang for the buck as far as the price on the market for this kit. The factory Bobcat kit is insanely expensive, and obviously it's not really worth it, honestly, whenever you can get it out for like 95 bucks. With that being said, let's get on with it.
Alright guys, so first and foremost, you're going to need to take off your skid cover that goes over the pump to protect it from impact. Unfortunately, I didn't get to film that in mine, as it was quite damaged by the previous owner, so ultimately I had to cut it off, so I'm going to end up re-welding it and fixing it. You should have a 2 to 4 bolts that holds it on, and it should be self-explanatory as to how to remove it. Once you get the wheels off, you remove the cover, and then once you get to this point, you're going to take these 3 AN hoses off, or hydraulic lines. I just use an adjustable wrench. It makes it quite easy. You're not having to find the right wrench, and you can just go through them. It shouldn't be that tight. You're going to take off these 4 bolts that holds the pump to the body. Self-explanatory. I'm not sure exactly what socket it was that I ended up using. This is a voiceover that I'm doing afterwards, but it should be self-explanatory. It's just going to be standard SAE sockets. Nothing special. The only thing that I will be using that's special in this video is actually acetylene torch, but honestly you can get by with a map gas or a little propane torch. As far as tools that you need, I would recommend that you get a 1/2-inch breaker bar, a standard assortment of SAE sockets, SAE standard Allen or hex sockets that you're going to be using for the actual rebuild whenever you start taking it apart. 1/2-inch to 3/8 socket reducer, various 1/2-inch extensions. An impact gun, however, is not really necessary, but it will make your job a lot easier. A heat source, like I was saying, I used a acetylene torch, but you can get by with a map gas just fine. It'll do the same. A workbench or a vise to secure it so you can break these bolts loose here, these large Allens that I'm fixing to show you. You really need some methodology of securing it to the table or your work area. 2 large adjustable crescent wrenches, that's going to be used for taking off the AN or hydraulic lines. And personally, I end up using some dielectric grease just to coat the O-rings so that they don't roll. Dielectric grease, I don't know if you know it, but it won't actually swell the O-rings, so you can lubricate them, and you're not going to have to worry about them swelling up and prematurely ripping. But that's about it. Let's get on to the rebuild. Obviously I couldn't break these hex bolts loose, so I'm going to end up having to break out the torch and heat them up. So obviously be careful if you do have to end up using a torch. Just be cautious of your work area. Make sure you don't have any fluids. It's probably ideal to clean off the drive pump and get anything that's flammable off of it. Go ahead and heat these guys up, and then it'll be 10 times easier to break them loose.
Alright, so basically these 4 bolts here are the 4 bolts that sandwich the drive motor together. Once you break them loose, basically you have free access to go inside of the actual motor and start rebuilding it. Don't get overwhelmed with this. I know it can look like a lot, but it's super easy. Like, I was able to do it, you should be able to do it. If you get lost somewhere, just leave a comment below and I'll try my best to walk you through it if you have any issues whatsoever. It's so simple. You're gonna laugh as the video progresses. You're gonna see just how easy it is. Luckily I got 3 of the 4 bolts out. This last one wanted to be stubborn, so I'm gonna have to reheat it and attempt to get it back out, but ultimately it comes right out. Just a little bit of heat and a little bit of torque and you're fine. Obviously, guys, these bolts are hot. Don't make the mistake that I made. It's easy to burn yourself on these things. And basically, with a acetylene torch, it's easy to get these things glowing. The map gas, it's not gonna be as easy, but still enough to burn you. So, you know, just take the necessary precautions so you don't burn yourself. I do want to take a moment just to say thanks to everybody that has subscribed. We just hit, what, 211 subscribers? And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but honestly, like, I really do sincerely appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I'm just starting out on this YouTube journey, so it's new to me, everything's new to me. I just want to say I really do appreciate it to everybody that has subscribed to this point. It does mean a lot, and it does mean that, you know, everybody's actually finding something useful in my videos. And honestly, I just made these to have something to do, but it's awesome to be able to share with people and hopefully and potentially help people out. So, you know, from the bottom of my heart, I really do thank you guys. Something I do want to make note of is there's this little brass circle that you're going to see right here on the screen. Just be careful not to lose that. It literally just sits there in the side there on the right side of the screen. It sits there in a little hole, and it's easy to lose that. But just make a mental note. Really, there's only like 3 pieces that could potentially fall out on you. There's 2 BBs. It's literally roughly the size of a little air gun BB, and then this little brass, we'll just call it a donut for the sake of, you know, calling it something. But yeah, so it basically sits here. Nothing holds it in. There's no spring or anything behind it. It literally just sits in there. So make a mental note of that. And then the 2 BBs. Whenever they come back up on screen, I will show you and let you know, just to be aware of them, because that's kind of a pain if you lose them. On the first pump in which, or the first motor in which I rebuilt, I did drop one, and it took me a little bit to find it. So, you know, just make a mental note. Basically, the setup on these O-rings here, it's going to be an O-ring, rubber O-ring, and then it's going to have what I assume to be a Teflon backer, just to keep it, the friction side of the drive motor from coming in contact with the actual O-ring. I want to say the Teflon portion is the white portion on screen. Just get the backside of the drive motor really clean to the best of your ability. I mean, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but as clean as possible. Yeah, so basically I'm just taking a rag and some brake clean, wiping it out. And here it is. Doesn't have to be perfect, but the cleaner the better. I do want to take just a second and say, hey, if you're finding value in the video, if I have helped you out in any method, drop me a comment below. If you don't want to drop me a comment below, I understand. If you would, though, please like and subscribe to the video. Your viewership really does help me. It allows me to make these videos. It also motivates me to make these videos. You know, if you're not getting any views and people are not engaging with you, what's the point in making these videos, you know? More or less, I'm just going to lay out O-rings here on the table, just kind of match them up, make sure everything's good. The loader part source kit really does, you know, it works really well. I can attest for that because I did rebuild my left pump, and it's working flawless right now. So what you're going to do, take your O-ring and pop it in, and then on the back side of the O-ring, the Teflon backer goes on. It doesn't really pop in, it just kind of lays in there. There's literally a recess that's cut in there for the O-ring, so you're not going to really experience any like snapping or anything. Some of them do fit tighter than the others, so just make a mental note. It's kind of hard to, you know, mismatch them or put the wrong O-ring in the wrong spot. In this event, obviously that one didn't fit, so I just moved on to the next O-ring. And in this case, the green O-ring fit just perfectly. There is variances as far as the little valleys that are cut for the O-rings, to the degree that you're going to know if you're trying to put the wrong O-ring in there. It's just not going to stay. It's self-explanatory. It's so easy. Like, I appreciate you watching the video, but honestly, you really don't need a video to say and rebuild this thing. You are going to see me take some dielectric grease and throw on these Teflon backers. Honestly, it's just going to kind of keep them in place, keeps them from popping out, because there really is no tension on the O-rings. So I need some sort of grease or lubricant just to hold them in place, if you know what I mean. And like I was saying before, the reason in which I chose the dielectric grease works really good with O-rings in the sense of it provides lubrication, but it doesn't swell the O-rings. So it's, you know, the best of both worlds. You ain't got to worry about the O-rings swelling and then potentially getting pinched or rolling or something of that nature. So yeah. And here it is, dielectric grease. And you don't have to have a certain brand. It's just dielectric grease, you know. Maybe you don't have any. Just use whatever. You know, just be aware of greases or fluids that could potentially swell the O-rings. It's just going to make your job a lot easier. So alright, so these are the little BBs in which I was talking about earlier. These are probably honestly the easiest thing to lose whenever disassembling and reassembling the drive motor. They literally just sat in there. What they're used for, I don't know. But just make sure that they're in there. They will cause issues if they are not in there. Here I am using the dielectric as usual to lubricate all my O-rings. It's kind of become a creature of habit now, so maybe not in this sense, but I've definitely had O-rings in the past roll on me and just create worlds of issues, and that's just something that nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to go back in and have to redo a job that they just did. It's just so aggravating to have to go back in and redo something twice. Just do it right the first time. Here's a shaft O-ring. It's easy to get out. Getting the new one in is a little bit of a pain, but it's definitely doable. You know, you just gotta use a couple fingers and you can push it down in there. Once it gets down in there, you know, it looks bound up before it pops into place. And once it pops into place, it'll be just fine. You know, hopefully this is helping you out a little bit. You know, I'm trying to capture as much video as in which I could, but you know, obviously I can't capture everything. You know, this was my second time doing it, so hopefully I'm making it look easy. But honestly, guys, this is literally just about it. It's literally just about it. That's how easy it is to rebuild it. Now obviously there's a lot more to the video. I'm gonna run you through everything else. Something I did notice on my first time, I did not hammer in my sockets, my little hex Allen sockets. Obviously they're standard, but just tap them into place. It's definitely gonna provide you much more purchase on the fastener. It'll just make your job a lot easier. Nobody wants to round off, you know, a bolt or anything and have to sit there and fight that mess. And honestly, if you round it out, I don't know what you would do to find a replacement part. I'm sure Bobcat has them for an arm and a leg, but you know, just spend the extra moment, take you a pick, clean out your fastener, tap in your socket, and just pull it out. So what you're going to see me do here on this little shaft that runs through between these two caps, I'm not sure what it does, but it does, you can get into an issue where these collars on the shaft, I'm going to show you here in a second, if they don't slide freely, okay, see right here, so if they don't slide freely on that shaft, you're going to run into an issue. So what is recommended whenever you're rebuilding this thing, take that shaft, I'm going to take a little bit of Scotch-Brite, and you're going to sit there and just make sure there's no burrs on that shaft. It causes an issue with pressure inside of the pump, whenever there's a burr in that little collar, it gets caught. So just go in there and, you know, make sure there's no burrs or anything. Make sure the little collar slides really well. Obviously on mine, they did slide, but, you know, preventive maintenance, just take a little bit of Scotch-Brite and clean it up. Make sure everything's good. This will definitely help your pump to respond well. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's definitely a world of difference, especially if you had ripped O-rings and those Teflon backers were destroyed or just deteriorated from time. It's going to be such a world of difference whenever you drive it with this new motor. Like, honestly, I would probably recommend doing both at the same time. Yeah, I probably would, because honestly, I tried to cheap out and just get by doing the left side. Well, I did the left side. I'm out here trying to dig up my driveway because I got a cement slab that's sinking down. I guess they had some organics under it, and obviously the slab, my driveway slab, is settling down. I'm out here trying to get this thing dug up, and my forward and reverse on that left side, oh man, it's butter smooth. That right side, which was arguably fine, oh, it just felt so clunky, so I had to pull it off. And obviously here in the video we're rebuilding it now, but it's so nice having, you know, resealed drive motors. So just take the time. I think we're at the time of filming this video, it was only like $95 for a seal kit. So you're gonna be in what, like $200? It's so worth it. Like, it's literally gonna make it feel new. So just take time, pull them both off, and rebuild them both. Alright guys, that just about wraps it up as far as the drive motor rebuild. Next thing we gotta do is go ahead and toss it back onto the skid steer. So we're gonna do just that. Go ahead and pull off your paper towels or just whatever you had, plugging up the holes just so that it didn't leak out everywhere on the floor. In this case I used some paper towels. Cheap, plentiful, you know, you're not gonna use it again, so just use paper towels. But yeah, so it's super easy to throw back on. We got 4 bolts and 3 lines, so I know we're kind of oversimplifying things there, but yeah, well, I kind of got to move with a sense of urgency. It is raining outside, so we're trying to beat the weather, or beat the worst of the weather, if you know what I mean. Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta get things done. You gotta get caught up on things, so go ahead and leave me a like if you know how that life is. You know, can't afford very much, but you try to make the most of the things in which you have, and you try to use the resources wisely. So yeah, but enough rambling on. Go ahead and set those 4 bolts on. Use your breaker bar. Try to kind of get up back where the torque was. Honestly, I don't know where the torque, what the torque spec is, so you know, you want to get them pretty snug. Try to duplicate how tight they were, obviously, whenever they came off, but get those snugged up, and then you got literally the 3 lines left to go ahead and put them on. I noticed that putting the smallest of the 3 lines on first definitely tends to help out. It's obviously in the back, so it's harder to access. Once you get that on, kind of develop the process of doing the one closest to the body. In this case, it would be the left one, and then the right one. Once you got them, you know, finger tight, I just went in there with a adjustable crescent wrench. Seems to be what I'm using a lot on this pump or motor rebuild. Go ahead and tighten it up, and we're gonna go from there. Alright, so that only leaves one thing left, and that's to go ahead and throw on your tires. Unfortunately, I got these airless tires. I am trying to track down some knobbies. You know, obviously in this situation it was used as a recycling metal place, by the previous owner, so it doesn't really serve me well to have slicksters or whatever you want to call them. But yeah guys, well, hopefully you learned something from this video. Hopefully it helped you out in some manner or methodology. Perhaps it just gave you an overview of the process. If there is something that it specifically helped you out with, drop me a comment. Let me know. Like, I really do care. I really do care about you guys. So drop me a comment below. Let me know what it helped you out with, and what I can help you out with in the future. Alright guys, smash that like button. I really do appreciate you viewing up to this point. Have a great evening. Love you guys. Bye.